So, coming from SpaceX itself, we have Starmind. That's right, the stock is cratering right now for SpaceX. It was at $225 a share, it's now to $138 a share. It's lost something like 40% of its value in about 2.5 weeks. $1.1 trillion in wealth simply has vanished into the air. But don't worry, Elon Musk has a plan, and that is Starmind. And basically what Starmind is these are his AI space data centers, right? That is the future. We do not have enough land on planet Earth for all of the AI data centers that need to be built. So that's why we need to launch them into space. Because remember, tech bros can't see a Wyoming. They have Wyoming blindness. You're like, hey, what about Wyoming? And they're like, that's not real, Eli. They don't believe in Wyoming. So anyways, I thought I would take a minute to talk about Starmind just to show you how ridiculous this concept actually is. If we go down, we take a look at their own information. So AI-1, orbital satellite with localized compute that takes advantage of readily available power and cooling in space and beams back data via high bandwidth lasers to the Starlink constellation. So Starlink is the ISP satellites. This is going to be their data centers, right? Deployed height, so how tall this thing's going to be is about 65 feet. Wingspan, so when it spreads out all of its solar panels, it's going to be about 229 feet. And then this is where it becomes interesting. Compute payload, 150 kilowatts at peak, 120 kilowatts on average. And now here's the thing, me just being a normal type of geek, I don't actually know the power consumption of servers off the top of my head. It's 120 kilowatts. I'm not sure what that means. I think it can run a crap ton of Raspberry Pis. I'm not sure how many of the NVIDIA GPUs it can run. And so I asked Google, hey Google, how many servers can 120 kilowatts on average actually be able to run? The number of servers supported by 120 kilowatts depends entirely on the type of hardware and server configuration. In a modern AI or hyperscale environment, 120 kilowatts typically powers 1 to 6 servers, whereas in traditional enterprise setups, it can power 40 to 160 servers. An NVIDIA GB200 NVL72 requires up to 120 to 140 kilowatts per system. So basically, system is about a rack. So what we're looking at here is each one of these satellites will be more or less one rack of AI servers in space. And this is one of my big arguments against this incredibly stupid idea. When you hear about AI data centers in space, like you think about whenever you've been to a co-location facility or whenever you've been to like a real data center, you're like, oh, put warp engines on this thing, launch it up a couple of miles, and that's what we're gonna have in space, right? We're gonna have some like Fantastic Four, space station up there that's just gonna be housing these servers. And what you find out is no. Basically, what they're gonna be doing is they're gonna be launching satellites, individual satellites, and in those individual satellites will be approximately one rack of compute capacity. AI compute capacity. And so think about this, right? There's an ISP in Asheville that I know, and their customers, they needed some data center functionality. They're an ISP, and they're like, hey, we've got a decent sized room in the back of the building. We don't have any other use for it. And so they put something like 20 racks into that back room. 20 racks into the back room simply to provide functionality for their customers. Now think about this. If they're gonna put that into space, each one of those racks will be one individual satellite that would have to get launched into orbit. And this is where I start saying, this is why it's complete and utter horse crap. The idea of launching that much crap into space when we have Wyoming just doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. If we go down, we take a look at more of this. They talk about thermal, deployable liquid radiators reject heat into the vacuum of space, built upon SpaceX's extensive experience operating vehicles on orbit. I do think this makes sense, to be honest with you. It is SpaceX, right? They do create Oh, they create their rockets and the space vehicles and all kinds of other things. I do figure Elon Musk, or at least his employees, do know how to deal with the thermal problems, so that's there. And then if you scroll down some more, it talks about the solar. So solar array will be about 150 kilowatts. So that would be the maximum output. Again, so it'll be about able to power a rack of servers, which is, that's good. I mean, from a technical look. I just want to be clear here. From a technical standpoint, that's phenomenal. You can launch a rack of servers into space and power them 24/7. The geek in me is like, wow, that's amazing. The part of me that is a couple of months off of being 50 and really fucking close to retirement is not so impressed when you start looking at the valuation on the stock market and yeah, not wanting to have to live in a cardboard box when I retire in, God, like a decade and a half. That's ridiculous. Space-based compute. Satellites with local AI compute, where the results are beamed back from low latency sun-synchronous orbit, are the fastest way to scale, given the growing difficulty of finding electrical power sources on Earth. Really? This is where they just make comments. This is just where they make statements, and they say it so boldly. It's hard for people to go, no, that's just kind of stupid. I mean, there is some value to this, but it's not the fastest way to scale given the growing difficulty of finding electrical power sources on Earth. I think it might be a little bit easier to create power stations on Earth. Proven technology, again, that makes sense. Superior cooling, again, that probably makes sense too. Modular, I do think this is interesting. We are AI chip vendor agnostic. Our system architecture supports compute modules from any provider. So there you go. Whether you want NVIDIA or AMD or somebody else, you can launch your data center into space. Laser connectivity. So connecting all of these things together. Again, this is a pretty cool deal. Then they have the Gigasat factory. So this is going to be building all of these satellites. SpaceX is building the Gigasat factory in Bastrop to manufacture AI satellites at massive scale. And this is one of the problems with Musk and all this horse crap. At massive scale. Why? Maybe just manufacture them like onesie twosies. Like, how many of these things do we actually need? This facility is planned to enable rapid production and deployment of thousands of AI satellites starting as soon as late 2027. And this is where I've argued many times before. You hear Elon Musk talk about this stuff, and he's talking about launching one of their starships per hour, right? And literally, like when he talks about this, he's being honest. God bless him, he's being honest, right? Here on planet Earth, he's talking about launching a starship per hour. On the Dwarkish podcast, he was talking about being able to manufacture AI data centers directly on the moon from resources that are available there, and literally launching a mass drivers every hour, mass driving an AI data center into space. And here's my problem with all this. Like, how much AI do we need? Look, there are real arguments out there about, is any of this AI to begin with, right? That's an argument. Some people believe this horse crap is AI. Some people believe it's not AI. Anyways, that's an argument. There's an argument of how valuable artificial intelligence is. There's an argument about whether humanity should progress down this path. Right, there's a lot of arguments about AI one way or the other. The thing that I don't understand is this concept of literally insatiable demand. The idea that there is so much demand for artificial intelligence that it can never be satiated. Look, I'm a technology professional. I've done this crap since 1996. I use AI. AI is fine. I use the AI technologies. AI technologies are fabulous. Believe me, the technologies are much better than the buzzwords. Anyways, but even with that, I still don't use it very much. And even when I look at the functionality of it, it's going to be some. It's going to be like, yes, can I see using more AI in my life? Absolutely. Can I see needing an insatiable amount of AI in my life? No. Again, there's some. You need some. You need. We don't have an insatiable demand for water. We don't have an insatiable demand for food. And this is where I say again, so many of these tech bros out there, they don't even understand what grass is anymore. They don't even understand what humanity is anymore, right? We humans have. There are very few things that humans have an insatiable need for, and none of them are artificial intelligence. To be clear, unless they start creating sex bots, they come out with the sex bots. Maybe you have a little bit of more of an argument, but we are a long way from good quality sex bot. I mean, I've heard there are sex bots out. I don't think they're good quality yet. But anyways, this is like the whole thing with all of this AI horse crap, right? Deployment of thousands of AI satellites starting as soon starting as soon as late 2027. If it actually happens. Limiting factors, mass to orbit, power generation, AI chips. So basically with Starship, this is how they are going to be launching all of these satellites into orbit. All right, then we go down here. It's always sunny in space. So the concept is they will always be powered on when they're in space. And this is one of the interesting things too with SpaceX. SpaceX plans to produce advanced AI chips at scale in its new fab facility, a joint project with Tesla using a modular architecture that enables seamless integration and continuous upgrades of next generation processors. So apparently they're going to be getting into the AI chip space too. Because at this point in time, everybody is getting to the AI space. Hey, you know how to have a market differentiator? You know how to build a really big moat around your company? Yeah, do what everybody else is doing. That's the best way to build a moat around your company. Anyways, and that's basically what we're taking a look at when we take a look at Starmind. Again, they talk about safety, prioritizing long-term orbital sustainability, blase, 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 blase. But yeah, this is the latest thing coming out of Elon Musk and the whole SpaceX group. And to be clear, this is my frustration with so much of this. I was talking to Isaac Pound today, doing another one of those interviews. And this is where I just get frustrated because like the technology is fucking awesome. People are like, why do you hate AI? I don't hate AI. Look, well, I hate AI. I don't hate the technology behind this thing that we call artificial intelligence. The technology behind this stuff is fucking phenomenal. The things that we are able to now accomplish with technology are absolutely amazing. But for some reason, we take this amazing technology, we take with this pure concept, and then we idiot scale it. Right? There's like hyper scaling and blitz scaling. We have gone to idiot scaling all of this stuff where you're like, this just doesn't make sense anymore, right? Right. In 2026, 2027, does it make sense to start building computer networking and architecture systems for a space environment? Yes, right? I think about this. I took a class for MySQL back when MySQL was MySQL, before it was bought by Sun Microsystems or any of that disaster happened. And it was interesting. I was talking to somebody there who worked in the government. He was heavy into networking. And we were talking about IPv6 back then. So I don't know. We were talking about 2004, maybe 2005. Talking about like, yeah, what is the point of IPv6 anyway? Anywho, the interesting thing that he was talking about is the concept for IPv6 realistically made the most sense as a galactic area network, a GAN. The concept of is when you have satellites in space and rovers in space and all of these devices, right? Imagine IoT and a solar system configuration, a solar system architecture. One of the things that he was talking about is that IPv6 starts making sense then simply because of how the protocol works. And so realistically, it is how do you build like this packet-based network on a solar system scale? Which is amazing, right? And so we are now to that point. We are now to the point where we can start actually looking at IoT at a solar system scale. Probably within the next 10 years, somebody is gonna have a base on the moon. Maybe it'll be America, maybe it'll be China. Who knows? Somebody will have a base on the moon. Anyways, from the moon, there's going to become more and more things. There's going to need to be more communication. There is going to start to be questions about things like systems architecture. How do you deal with caching scenarios when you're communicating amongst planets or between planets? How do you deal with latency issues when you're going between places? I think about this with video games. So it's interesting, latency has gotten a lot better over the years, but when latency was still pretty bad for internet connections, these video game companies, when you were playing online against other players, what they were finding is that if the game waited for your actual commands, your console or your controller commands to get all the way to the server, there was so much latency in that basically the game would fall apart. It's kind of like dealing with jitter, but for video games. Like when you try to call somebody and the latency is too much and you start talking over each other. Imagine if you're trying to play Call of Duty and, right, it would get really janky. So what was really interesting is some of these video game developers started coming up with algorithms to essentially guess what your next button press was most likely to be statistically. And so what would happen is it would actually start running a command based off of a button movement it expected out of you. And what they were able to get the system to be really good, so even that there was latency, this predictive system could get you to play, and it appeared to eliminate the jitter, that type of thing. What's interesting, with artificial intelligence, again, when you start really thinking about artificial intelligence, what if you had an AI system that really understood both parties in a conversation? And so let's say you're on Mars and they're on Earth, right? And you're trying to have real-time communication. The distance between those two planets is just too far for actual real-time communication. It takes 20 minutes or something for the wavelengths to get from point A to point B. What if you had satellites in the middle, essentially caching satellites in the middle that had predictive algorithms that, knowing you, would respond to the other person before the other person actually responded to you, and that communication would go to you? Now, to be clear, that could go very, very badly, very quickly. But if it was actually good enough, right? What if you're kind of communicating with this AI bot in the middle? And this is the kind of thing that we should be thinking about. When we start thinking about architectures and systems going into the future. I think about this with right now with the war between Ukraine and Russia. And one of the interesting things is every time you see these drones, almost every time you watch the drone footage on the Ukrainian side, it's these incredibly pixelated video feeds, right? So they're flying these loitering munitions 60 miles away. And so just with radio frequency and the equipment that they're using, the resolution of the images is actually pretty poor. One of the things that I've thought about with this is Samsung and LG and all these companies, they have 4K upscaling. So if you put a VHS tape and you run it through one of these 4K TVs, supposedly it will upscale that VHS tape into 4K to some degree. One of the things I've wondered is why can't you upscale, right? With AI, using predictive algorithms and using things it already knows, you can train it to know what a Russian tank looks like. You can train it to know what Russian vehicles look like and all that kind of stuff. A pixelated image comes into the server. The server then basically upscales that image into 4K, and then the drone pilot now has a nice 4K image for her to be able to more precisely target whatever it is that they're trying to target, right? And this is kind of interesting stuff to be thinking about. Once you start thinking about devices and latency and all this kind of stuff, and this solar system type scenario, and so us launching a few, a couple, I don't know, data centers into space and seeing how well that works out, I think that makes a lot of sense. Sending thousands into space, fucking stupid. So dumb. But anyways, it's 2026. So what do you think about this with Starmind? What do you think about these AI data centers? What do you think about one rack of servers per satellite? Does that sound like an efficient use of physical resources? When you hear that and you hear about Wyoming, which starts to make a little bit more practical sense? I don't know. Put your thoughts down in the comment section. If you like these episodes, do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.